Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Software Engineer K here, and we have quite a lot of stuff to go through. So we had the recent AMA with VeVe. They discussed quite a lot of key topics, including the MTL, the OMI migration, web platform. I specifically want to focus on the MTL because there is one key question that myself and a lot of people want to ask, and it will determine just exactly what the cash out process looks like. And there are quite a lot of legitimate concerns that people want addressed, and one of those is a fee. Specifically, we did hear some speculation about a fee. It could be possible that there may be a 30% fee. I'm going to explain exactly why. It's not supposed to be FUD, it's just supposed to be a question, and a question which we would ideally like, an answer based around potential outcomes. Also want to go through the new upcoming drop and also a breakdown of what's been happening in the market and my progress as of today. So first off, we have the new drop announced. It is the first appearance of the Red Goblin. So this is pretty cool. I think this one is a really cool comic, but just to break it down, if we go to the physical, now the physical is not worth that much, but we did see the variant covers that we've seen there appear in real life as well. So a 9.8 of this cover is about $129. That's what it's listed for, high grade. And then we can see a few others. Let's see, we've got some ungraded ones, I believe down here, going for like standard $5. So it's not like a super valuable comic. It is a more recent one. Here we can see the second print for like a few dollars, but it is a pretty cool looking cover. I think this one will perform somewhat okay, similar to kind of like the newer Fantastic Four comics, just because it's a cool cover. It's got a first appearance in it, and Spider-Man stuff generally does tend to do better than the others. So I think this one, it'll be okay. It's like not a terrible drop. Now the next thing I want to address is the gem cash out. So I want to break this down as much as I can for everyone, just so you understand exactly what I'm talking about. So we are going to be getting the MTL. For those who don't know, it's the money transmitter license that allows VeVe to enable their users to move their gems into fiat currency, which they can move into their bank accounts. So essentially a cash out system. Now there are a lot of misconceptions, and in the VeVe AMA, one key point that the team had said is that they never planned for a cash out system. Now I want to address that point first. When they said they never planned for a cash out system, I think that was just poor phrasing. What they meant was they never planned for a direct NFT to fiat system because they wanted OMI to do everything. So what they actually intended was for the users to sell their collectibles to each other using OMI, and then you could get that OMI, send it to an exchange, and then cash it out via the exchange. That system is still going to work. That system, we know, has no real fees associated with it outside of the 2.5% VeVe fee, or a slightly higher fee if you have the premium licenses like Disney, Marvel. But that point of going from collectible to OMI to exchange to cash out, there isn't going to be like any kind of ridiculously high fee. Now going back to the gem system, now David, you did say that we may see like a 10% fee, nothing higher than that, which is fair, but where did this 30% fee come from? So I want to address that. Now firstly, when users are buying gems, some users pay more for gems, and that difference is usually down to foreign exchange fees if you're living in a different country, or it could be down to your country's local regulations, which add a digital goods tax. So in the UK, we get a digital goods tax on our store purchases. So we actually pay more than $1 per gem. That difference amount, we'll never get back. We know that. But just focusing on the, if you're a US citizen, you're paying $1 for one gem. Why might you not get back $1 for every one gem that you cash out? So if we just have a look here, I'm just going to try and break it down for you guys. Now, if you're a user and you spend $1,000 for 1,000 gems, okay, that's pretty simple. Let me just move this to the side a bit. Now, the App Store, they actually take a cut. You have to remember that. and this is in their white paper as well, they take a 30% cut. So we're going to say they take 300 gems. What does that leave us? Well, that means VeVe, they actually get, in terms of USD amount, 700 gems, $700, sorry. Now, VeVe gets $700 for the 1,000 gems that the user holds. Now, let's say that user instantly decided to, they're not interested in VeVe anymore, they cash out. Now, VeVe has $700. The user has 1,000 gems. When the user cashes out, they're expecting to get back $1,000. What is the difference? Well, that's pretty simple. We have this value here, so, and the user, so the difference is minus 300. Now VeVe needs to make up this 300, this difference in $300, but how are they going to do that? Well, there are a couple of things that they can do. We know that VeVe, they can get money from their secondary market sales. That's fair. We know that they could do, key partnerships and, collaborate with our projects and then gain, some kind of revenue stream from there. We know that they have speculated at working with Jeremy Padua on releasing physicals. Maybe they can come to an agreement to get, additional revenue stream from there. There are other different ways they can get a revenue stream to kind of plug up this gap. Now, we have to also remember that this isn't as clear cut as, we put money in, they get money. You have to remember that, VeVe, they allocate 7% of all revenue they get to buybacks. So that's 7% less that they now need to recoup for. So actually, in reality, if we add another column, we can put this as buybacks. Now, for every $1,000, whatever they get, they will spend 7% on buybacks. Now, I believe that is 7% of before the App Store fees. I might be wrong, but I recall it was 7%. So actually, 7% of 1,000, they're going to be spending, let's say, 70. So actually, after they do their, buybacks and whatnot, how much do they actually get? Well, let's just have a look. They actually get 630, and now the difference has increased to minus 370. So VeVe needs to plug this gap in order for the user to get $1,000. And it's not just that, okay? There are other scenarios where VeVe kind of takes a shortfall. One of those, and this is a huge problem with projects that decide to integrate a fiat system because they want to appeal to the mass, mass user audience, is they say, hey, some people can't use crypto, let's add a fiat gateway. And the problem with that is credit cards. And what typically happens is there is a black market for stolen credit cards. Users, and this happened to VeVe in a massive wave over the summer, and it's still happening, just probably not as much, but there were a lot of black market credit cards. People were buying gems using these credit cards, they were selling their gems to users, and then they were doing a chargeback and getting their money back from the App Store. What happened? The users that purchased these gems, many of them ended up getting banned, and then they end up going through this whole mess of quote unquote unfairly banned users. A lot of people on Twitter were saying that they hadn't done anything wrong, they weren't botting, they'd been banned, but these people did actually buy gems on the secondary market. Like, they didn't sell collectibles for it, they went to someone selling gems, they paid them in USD or whatever, but they didn't know if these gems were coming from a stolen credit card. And VeVe, when they traced them, any accounts associated with buying gems off of these stolen credit cards, they were banned. That led to a whole massive mess. And when these guys do their chargebacks, VeVe doesn't, they're not getting the money for it, but they have lost the gems for it. So they have to make up for that shortfall as well. So how do they come to the resolution of returning one-to-one, 1,000 gems? How do they return $1,000 to the user when they are actually losing a lot of money along the way? What I believe they could do is play off of the web platform. Now, the web platform means they will not take a 30% cut. So moving forward in the future, we don't need to worry about that. There's always going to be a one-to-one, treasury, essentially we could call it. So until that happens, how will they plug this gap? Well, what they could also do is encourage users more to trade via OMI when they get their OMI to NFT utility, because remember, if the users trade peer-to-peer with OMI and they get their OMI from another user, they cash out that way. VeVe doesn't need to worry too much. But for compliance and regulation, when it comes down to it, for every gem in the app, VeVe does need to prove that they hold $1 against every gem. You have to remember when we had the whole USDT, mess, when they were audited, they needed to prove that for every USDT token, they had $1 to back it up. Otherwise, it's not pegged to $1 really. And VeVe needs to do the same thing with all of the regulations and compliance. For every one gem in the app, they have to back it up with $1 in some kind of treasury or reserve, because they have stated one gem is $1. If they don't do that, then they're going to get into some regulatory issues. And when they get into regulatory issues, that's going to cause FUD. And when that causes FUD, OMI, basically hits the toilet. So it is a very interesting situation they're in. And I think that is why they have not given us a clear-cut answer, because this is something that requires a lot of work to get right, and they don't want to kind of preemptively tell us something. I know, David, you said that there'll probably be like a 10% fee, but I think that was him just kind of throwing something out there just as an answer. But I don't believe they've got like a proper answer as of yet. When they will have the answer, I'm not sure, but I personally want that question to be asked in the next AMA. I will ask it myself if I get a chance to. But many of us do want to know, what is VeVe going to do to plug this gap so that users get one gem to $1? If they don't get one gem to $1, what would the fee be? That's the question. So next, what I just wanted to touch on is a couple of interesting things that's been happening on the market. One thing is a user called Poolside. They basically had a whole ton of Mermicornos listed on the market, and this was during the the glitch that affected market listings. Users could not list anything on the market. There was like less than 100 Mermicornos actually listed, and he had most of them listed, or he had quite a lot listed, and that's because he bought the floor and then just relisted. So the floor was like 400, 500 for the commons, and so what he did was he bought all of them. He spent, I don't know, someone said that he spent about 12,000 gems, and he basically listed them for like 40k. Now this was essentially a bet against VeVe. It was a bet against VeVe in terms of he thought they wouldn't be able to fix their issues in time, and whilst the Mermicornos could be listed, he would hold the floor at a ridiculously high price and at least one person would buy. That was his plan, and that didn't go to plan, because VeVe fixed the issue not long after in that evening, and all the Mermicornos just came like a flood. It came like a wave, and those Mermicornos listed at a floor of 40 end up going for, like, as in a floor of 40k, end up going down to a floor of 40. So 1,000 times less. And yeah, he basically lost out big time, but it served as a good lesson. It's probably best not to bet against VeVe in terms of these market situations, and it's a lesson to be learned. I personally would never make those kind of risky plays, trying to manipulate the floor when there's an issue. But, if it had worked, then that would have been pretty crazy if someone did buy, one of the common Mermicornos for like 40,000. But I don't think, someone realistically do that when Spider-Man Secret Rare was up for 40,000. And anyone could have seen, like, from the edition size that, it didn't make sense that it was like, 4 or 5 listed for, per edition. It's just, and, if you even followed the VeVe Twitter, you would have seen that they posted there was an issue with listings. So yeah, always be careful, watch out for these artificial floors, and don't, buy a ridiculously high floor thinking you can flip it for even higher. That is, there's a term for that. It is called fool's something. I can't remember, like fool's analogy, where you buy something and then you list it to someone who is going to try and flip it to someone willing to pay more than them. But it is what it is. That being said, I've been following the market, and I've been going for a lot of season 1 collectibles, the super OG collectibles, back from the first couple of drops. I bought the Starfire, paid 1.35k for it. It's now 1.95k. I think it's even higher than that now. It's like 2.1k when I'm recording this. The Big Barda I bought as well. That was the first color DC collectible. That's one that I absolutely had to have. first female DC collectible as well, I believe. And yeah, the floor for that, I paid like 1,000 gems for that off of the Danny guy who's like got, you know, done 1 million gem sales recently. That I think is about 1.5k now. So you know, all the collectibles are pumping. I'm pretty surprised by how much my vault value's grown. However, will that continue? My theory is I believe we will see a pause in the growth once the crypto market recovers. My theory was that, you know, similar to stocks and bonds, when the stock market is down, the bond market's up. When the bond market's down, the stock market is up. People seem to have kind of paired crypto and NFT. I believe when the crypto market starts to recover, we'll start to see a bit of a slowdown in the VeVe NFT market as more people then reallocate to OMI. And we're going to see this kind of seesaw teetering effect where when one's down, the other's up. When the other's down, the other one is up. So it'll be interesting to see if OMI, or when OMI starts to make a push to the upside, will we see a slowdown in the increase in VeVe NFT market prices? If we do, then I think that's a bit more of a confirmation in my confidence, and that's how, you know, this is working. But just on the point of OMI price, so if we do just pop over to that, if I just extend this point of support here, so we are still currently boxing in this range of, you know, around about 0.67 to 0.5 cents. You know, we've basically, if we can see here, like historically since, you know, back in November, we've basically been stuck in this range since November. So, you know, we came down, touched this point of support, touched this point of resistance again at 0.67, touched this point of support again at 0.5, and then again, and then, yeah, we've just literally been boxing this range since November. And that is because in November, you know, the MTL, OMI migration, all that stuff started, you know, being announced, and people have just been anticipating it since then. Will it come? Will it not? Is it delayed? You know, we're stuck in this range until something affirmative happens. And, you know, they've pushed the OMI migration date to the end of the month. So will that happen? I don't know. Maybe they'll push it again. MTL, same situation. Will it happen? I don't know. Maybe they might push it again to next month. But it will eventually happen. When it does, where will we go? I believe we're going to have to retouch this previous resistance of about 0.8 cents. So 0.8 cents I think is pretty good. I believe we'll touch it, and if we break, then we are good on our way to 1 cent. Until then, I don't see us leaving this zone of 0.5 to 0.67. I believe OMI is just going to be bouncing around there. Yes, the crypto market is down, so when the crypto market recovers, I believe OMI will touch 0.67 again, but I don't see it breaking until that migration, that OMI swap is complete. So pretty cool stuff. That's pretty much everything I want to go through with you guys today. Thanks so much for watching. Please do like, subscribe, support the content, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya.